Hey cadets and parents, Mackenzie with Texas Brigades here. Welcome to our first video in the TB tutorial video series. This first video tackles an important component of your book of accomplishments, the activity report form. The purpose of an activity report form is to report the great work you've done since camp in an organized, easy-to-read way. Ideally, it should give the reader a thorough understanding of the activity completed. Plus, one activity report form is required for each activity in order for it to be counted for points towards your final BOA score. In this video, we're going to go through each part of the activity report form, and I'm going to help you fill it out with the best types of information so you can maximize your points possible. Okay, so here's our cadet activity report form. This one's blank. I'm going to fill it out as we go. So here we go. Let's start with the first part, which is where we're going to indicate which camp this activity is going to be counted towards. I went to North Texas Buckskin Brigade most recently, so you would probably put the most recent camp that you've attended, but for me, I'm going to click North Texas Buckskin. Cadet name, pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to use an example cadet, but you would put your name. The date the activity happened, so if it was a presentation, the date you gave a presentation. This presentation was given on the 10th of December. If you guys are doing multi-day events, you're going to want to put a date range like so. Otherwise, just keep it that single date that that activity occurred on. Next, we'll have our activity category. This activity was A1, a single presentation to a captive audience. It's really important that you guys make sure that the activity that you are reporting matches up and meets all the requirements that are listed in the BOA activity values document. That's about that 10-page document you received at camp, but it's also available on our website that lists all the different activities you can do and their point values. So location of activity and group addressed. Sometimes what you can't put in this short line, you can put in the group addressed as well. Ultimately, you're going to want a mix of information like the event name, like if you went to the National Wild Turkey Federation banquet, the venue name, like Kendall County Fairgrounds, city and state, such as Dallas, Texas, the county, Gillespie County, and or the age of and type of participants. So did you speak to youth, adults, parents, teenagers, parents of teenagers, that sort of thing. So between the location of activity and group addressed, we can get this information across. So this activity took place in San Antonio, Texas. And the group addressed in this particular case was teenagers and parents in Bexar County, and this activity was given to a 4-H group. Cool. Speaking of our audience, we want to fill out our total audience, and we want this to be a number. So it can be a guess, so if you want to put like 50 plus or about 50, what we're not looking for here, or what we want to avoid doing is saying unknown or potentially infinite. Your best guess is fine, but it really needs to be a number. The time spent on activity, generally it's best to put like hours. So this activity took, let's say, an hour of travel time, like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back, and then let's just say they stayed at the event for an hour as well. So that would make it 2 hours total. And say, like I mentioned earlier, you have a multi-day event. You're going to want to put, let's just say you spent 3 hours each day at that event, and it's a 2-day event. So you would put your date range up here, and then you would put a total of 6 hours since you spent 3 on each day. So it would be the number of hours over the number of days. That's how to correctly report that. Cool. The next section we need to complete is a brief summary of the activity. So in this space below, as it indicates next to that title, you can include pictures, topics covered, products produced, etc. What I would recommend is making your pictures larger and adding them to a different page. And we'll go over some of the BOA assembly instructions in the next video. But for now, what I would recommend is using this space to describe in detail what the activity was and what resulted from it. So a method that I like to use a lot is the STAR method. You don't have to include this in yours, but I'm just going to write that out for y'all. The STAR method. So S is situation, T is task, A is action, and R is result. So that's a good way to structure your paragraph. So to save time, I'm going to copy and paste Ima's STAR method paragraph. So S and T are going to be in that first section, the situation and the task. So her situation was that she was asked by her local extension agent to come give a presentation to a group of teenagers in her local 4-H club. So her situation was that she was asked, and her task was to give a presentation. It's cool that she included that the name of her extension agent as well. Those are good details to include. So her action was that she gave a 30-minute presentation, and she talked about her favorite topics from camp. She also included some of the topics that she talked about, which again is also really good details to include, just to give the reader a more thorough understanding of what the presentation was about. If you want to include slides also, in this particular case, or if you're giving any presentation with slides, you definitely want to include those as well, so we know exactly what information was getting across. And for the R part of the STAR, this is the result. This last paragraph says that she gained more confidence in her speaking abilities. Plus, over 50 people learned about Texas Brigades. So that's awesome. That can include how many people you reached, say you gained a new contact, people gave you good feedback, anything like that can be the result of your activity. So again, situation, task, action, result, STAR. That's a great way to structure those paragraphs. The next section that we're going to fill out is the verifier section. It's always a good idea to ask each person that you name as a verifier to be your verifier prior to listing them, because sometimes the committees that are grading these books of accomplishments will call these people just to chat, see if they remember the presentation, or to ask for more details. So you always want people to know that they're being listed as your verifier in case we do reach out to them. A great way to get all of this contact information instead of having them write it out, so you have to type it out later, is asking for their business card. In most situations, they should have a business card on them. If not, just ask for their first and last name, their job title, so that would be, in this case, so let's just say her extension agent is John Doe, and he is the extension agent, so Life extension agent, let's say Bear County, and be as specific as you can. The email, so I'm just going to put an example email in the email format. So similar to like camps@texasbrigades.org, that's an email, as opposed to www.texasbrigades.org, which is a website. We definitely want the email address, and hopefully it's a current one, but you definitely want it to be an actual email address instead of a website. And then the phone number, either their cell phone or their office phone, whichever they prefer. 456, we'll just make up a number here, 7890. There we go. So, as it says at the bottom, this form does not require a signature, so everything does need to be typed out, but the verifying information needs to be fully completed to be considered valid. And what that means is that if we're missing one or two or any of this verifying information, this entire activity report form will not have points. So it's almost like you didn't report the activity at all. So please, 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 it is so important to make sure that you fill out these forms completely, including the verifying information, so you can get the maximum points possible. One last thing. What makes a good verifier? That's really something you should think about, and it's very important when completing this activity report form. A good verifier is someone who you spoke with to organize your attendance at a particular event, or someone who saw you speaking at the event. For example, if you set up your trifold in a feed store, you should probably use the feed store owner or manager as your verifier. Parents should be used sparingly as a verifier, because remember, the goal of your outreach is to reach others in your community. Plus, these verifiers could be great contacts in the future that you could reach out to for potential jobs, internships, and that sort of thing. And with that being said, I think that's all I've got for you as far as filling out these activity report forms. If you guys have any questions, make sure to reach out at camps@texasbrigades.org or visit our resources page. I will have all these videos listed on our YouTube channel as well as the script. So if you guys are more visual and would like to read the information instead of watching the video again, they'll be available there. And we look forward to providing you with a lot more super helpful videos. If you guys have topics that you would like to see videos made on, definitely let us know. That's all for now, and I'll see you next time.